Rancho has very volatile, explosive, flammable gas.
There's no way to make these tanks safe.
It also has very high risk because of the population and community that surrounds it.
We're not talking about Iraq here, we're talking about public safety, and that's a bipartisan issue.
One of the tanks fails. Within a 3-mile radius of that tank, approximately 500,000 people live. That's high risk.
Imagine a blast at the Los Angeles harbor the size of 50 atomic bombs. A fire that cannot be put out with water, that would trigger a cascading inferno, igniting the multitude of storage tanks, petroleum factories, underground gas pipes, and everything in its path.
You have to pay attention to the details. We have to start thinking in the long term instead of the short term.
Imagine the loss of Long Beach Harbor and how it would devastate the economy, turning Southern California into another Detroit. We've got 2 ultra-hazardous butane tanks containing over 25 million gallons, and propane bullet tanks containing 300,000 gallons. Imagine how easily these tanks could be penetrated by a rocket-launched grenade or a high-powered rifle. These tanks are a quarter mile from the port of Los Angeles and would make a high-value target for any terrorist. And these tanks are built on sandbanks called liquefaction areas. They stand 150 feet from a rupture zone with a potential 7.3 magnitude quake at hand. This propane and butane is stored above ground in refrigerated tanks, and when the liquid is exposed to air, it immediately vaporizes to over 230 times its original volume. A leak from a rupture would flow down the sandbank into the storm drain and spill out into the harbor. Butane and propane burn at temperatures hotter than 3,200 degrees and cannot be extinguished by water. No one, not even firefighters, can approach the blaze.
A large amount of propane in storage tanks that can be affected by strong earthquakes, ignited. That's a natural hazard, or human hazards. Hubris, arrogance, greed, ignorance, and indolence is a disaster sooner or later.
There is a way that we can change what's coming. We can heed the warnings. Or we could be content to just sit back and become our own masters of disaster.